Hey there Axie fans, Paropiro here. In this video I will talk about the starting draw percentages that can help you guys make better decisions early game and help you improve your arena win rate. Since this is my first video, I'll do a brief introduction. I started Axie Infinity around January 28, 2021. And then for season 16, my peak MMR was 2480, and then during the last hour of the season I dropped to below 2300, back down to 2235, finishing in the top 200. Not bad for my first full season. Okay, so let's begin. In every card game like Axie, there's an element of luck involved. We will try to reduce that luck factor by studying the probability of drawing certain key cards on turns 1 and 2. So why only turn 1 and 2? Well, because there are less variables on turns 1 and 2, and since by turn 3 there's a good chance that you and your opponent have already played some cards, making the probabilities differ a lot. For many new players, they always wonder if they should pass on turn 1 or attack on turn 1. But the answer to this includes many different factors such as your starting hand, your opponent's cards, and many others. In this video, I will try to help you make better decisions in the early game by showing you some percentages and their effects in the game. So first up, each Axie has 4 cards. One for the back, one for the mouth, one for the horn, and one for the tail. And then each of these cards has 2 copies, so each Axie has 8 cards. So we have 3 Axies in a team, so in total, we have 24 cards in our deck. So the key to this guide is identifying which of your opponent's cards are game-changing in the early stages. Let's start with the basic cards. So those would be Energy Steals and Poison. Those are really annoying, especially for new players. Let's start with the standard plant, beast, bird composition. So with this specific combination, the plant has a Sirius, Energy Steal, and then a Yam for the poison. The beast has a Goda for Energy Destroy, and a Rice for Energy Steal. Then the bird is standard full damage. So for this type of team, let's identify the annoying cards. As I mentioned before, for newbies, what's really annoying is the Energy Steal, Energy Destroy, and Poison. So first up is Yam and Goda. The opponent can play this on turn 1, and depending on what you do, it can really annoy you. So if we take a look at our table of probabilities here, we can see that on turn 1, there is a 39.1% chance of drawing at least one Yam or Goda, and then a 5.4% chance of drawing 2. If we add them both, that's a 44.6, so 44.6% chance of drawing at least one Yam or Goda. Then on turn 2, the percentages has increased, so about 49% for drawing 1, then 13% for drawing 2, so in total that's 62% for drawing at least 1. For Rice and Sirius, on the other hand, the percentages are slightly lower because they need a second card for them to be able to trigger. So on turn 1 for Rice, that's about 32.6, and then to draw double Rice, basically drawing double Rice is the same as drawing double Veg Bite, so the percentages for drawing exactly 2 is same, but for drawing at least 1 and triggering the combo, it's slightly lower. So we can see that at turn 2 it totals at about 60%. So what are our main takeaways from this? So what can we take from these percentages? So let's start with Yam. So first of all, getting poison from Yam is annoying, but unless you unload 3 cards against a Yam on turn 1, it's really not gonna be that much threatening. Just avoid getting poison on your back line and you should be fine. And then for the energy, personally getting 1 energy destroyed or stolen on turn 1 is really annoying, but again, it's not the end of the world. You'd still have 4 energy the next turn if you pass this turn. So you're still in an okay shape, especially if you can steal the energy right back. On the other hand, if your opponent gets to play 2 energy steals or energy destroys with you passing on turn 1, leaving you with just 1 energy and 3 energy again for your next turn. Plus, your tank would be damaged because he played the energy steal cards. This would mean that you would be very far behind in this battle, and that's actually quite detrimental. But we have to remember that turn 1, this is just 5%, so it's very low. You really should not be worrying about this happening in your games. If it happens, well, you might lose, but that's just how it goes sometimes. The advice is to not mind them getting 2 energy steals on turn 1 since it's very rare. So our main takeaway for this is that energy steal incites some players to attack on turn 1. So if your opponent plays Yam and you are baited to this, it's all to their advantage. So unless you really have a good hand or your team is one that would want to attack on turn 1, there's really no need to worry about energy steal. You can safely pass on turn 1. Next up is the Rice plus Goda combination. So we can see here that it's about 18%, so that's 1 out of every 5.5 games. So this percentage includes Rice plus Goda or double Rice plus Goda or Rice plus double Goda or double Rice double Goda, as long as you have at least 1 Rice or 1 Goda. So at 18%, this is not too high, yet it's not too low. So there are ways we can counteract it. Sometimes you can just play 2 cards or 2 energy so that if ever he does have the combo, he only gets to steal 1. And as I've discussed before, stealing just 1 energy, especially in the early game, it's not that big of a deal. Especially in the early game, you have your plant, which most likely has its own energy steal or energy gain, so you can gain that right back. So there are ways of counteracting this. Well, this is very powerful. Also, this Rice plus Goda combo is not very common, especially in high MMRs. They're more of the higher damage beasts rather than the double energy steal. So my tip against this is just try to minimize the energy that gets stolen from you. So maybe play 2 cards. Just avoid having 2 energy stolen or destroyed from you, and you should be fine. So last for this video is the triple bug signal. There it is. So for the triple bug signals, at turn 1 they have a 29.6% chance that they have the chain combo. So that's a quite high chance, plus the fact that bug signals do actually a decent amount of damage. When you're facing against this kind of team, I would generally almost always attack or use all of my energy on turn 1 against this, unless I have a draw where I can steal a good amount of energy back, or if I have some carrot that I can gain back the energy. It's generally good to attack against triple bug signals. So we can see if ever they pass at turn 1, they have 9 cards at turn 2, the likelihood of having a pair of bug signal chain is 52.8%, so that's half the time, and it's more than likely that they're gonna have it at turn 2. So there's also an interesting fact here that if at turn 1 they don't play any bug signals, the odds that they have 4 bug signal cards in their hand on turn 2, like 2 pairs, is only a 3.3% chance. However, if they do play a bug signal chain at turn 1, then the odds at turn 2 that they have a second pair of bug signals is actually at 25%. So here's my advice: if you see them play a bug signal on turn 1, then on turn 2 there's about 1 in a 4 chance that they have it again. So for me, I'd rather attack again and see I'd only save up my energy when I see them play at least 3 bug signals, because at that point they're less likely to get it. So yeah, there you have it. For bug signals, generally attack. So lastly, let's do some applications. So here are some teams that you might face. So the top is the typical plant beast bird team, like I mentioned before. So I discussed the percentages for the series, the yam, the rice, and Goda. But actually, aside from this, post fight is actually one that you should also pay attention for. So there are some teams that run plant bird bird with double post fight. So the goal of that is to quickly burst your Axies even as early as turn 1. So an example of this is if you have one post fight on your team, the probability of drawing it at turn 1 is 44.6% actually, so 39 and 5.4. And with one post fight plus 3 more damaging cards on the beast or bird, that might be enough to kill your tap, especially if it's the beast who has the other cards. So you can try this if he plays the plant bird bird. Let's try it if he has double post fight. So here we can see if he has 2 birds with post fight. So there are 4 post fight cards that you can draw. The percentage becomes 46.1% to draw 1, and then 21.6% to draw 2. So that's a lot. So at those percentages, if they draw 1 or 2 post fights, they would probably be able to kill your tank if it does not shield at turn 1. So that's just one of the applications of knowing the percentages of single cards, especially on turn 1 and 2. So the next team is the triple bug signal that I mentioned before. So like I mentioned before, the percentages are very high that he will be able to do a bug signal steal. So I suggest to just attack. Unless you're really lucky that the 30% doesn't really trigger much for you, you may pass. But otherwise, I suggest to attack. Then lastly, this is a plant aqua build. So for this type, the only thing to look out for is the Sirius. So that since that's the only energy steal. But since just one energy steal is not that impactful, you don't really need to mind it. So you can just go and play your game. Though do be mindful that plant aqua really tends to attack on turn 1 or turn 2 if they draw a decent amount of aqua cards. And that's it. Okay, so I hope this video is very informative and can help you get stronger in arena. Remember, these tips are not absolute to work every time since there's still some probabilities. But if you know them, they will surely increase your chances of knowing as long as you apply them properly. So thank you, and if you have any suggestions on what probabilities you want to include for a future video, feel free to suggest them in the comment section. Once again, thank you.